Hey guys, thank you. So my name's Chris, and I'm a senior architect in T-Mobile's Cloud Center of Excellence. And you may have heard of T-Mobile, as we touched on here, and know about us as a phone provider, a carrier network services, somebody who gave you Netflix on us, and now you can get your Netflix for free. But what a lot of you probably don't know is that we're also a world-class producer of digital technologies. At T-Mobile, we create some of the most cutting-edge solutions using DevOps and other modern technologies to reach a broad audience of both internal enterprise customers and you guys out there in the community. So we need people to do that, and we need a community to do that. And developing open source software solutions is a great way to get there. We're really excited about sharing the technologies that we develop with the world, and so we've started putting some of the work that we do out on GitHub as open source. Now, speaking of the community, we've got a great community here at New Tech Seattle that we've been turning out for a lot of years. And as I was spinning up for my presentation tonight, I put a post on LinkedIn and noticed that as I linked to it, I saw a face smiling back at me from, oh gosh, many years ago. And it turns out that I've been the unintentional poster boy for New Tech Seattle for quite some time. Anyway, blockchain technology. Why blockchain? Why T-Mobile? We're really excited in our Cloud Center of Excellence to explore these new technologies. And at risk of being cliche, I really believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. And here in Seattle especially, we have an amazing blockchain community, and there's a lot of great companies who are developing these technologies. So everything from storing digital records to exchanging assets and executing smart contracts, which are effectively business processes defined in code, blockchains can do for you. And it can really change the way businesses can interact internally and with their customers, right? It's a lot more than just the latest cryptocurrency on the market. Blockchain transactions are effectively you using the applications you're used to using, clicking on a website, and then a bunch of magic happens that makes it all cool. There's disintermediation, immutability, and all these fancy words, but at the end of the day, what you get is a solution that should feel and look like the products you're used to using. And so that's what we're working to deliver with the blockchain solutions at T-Mobile. We've started to build a solution called Hyperdirectory. It's an identity and access control solution. It is an enterprise tool, but at the end of the day, it's going to be able to help make us deliver products better for our customers. So we take the identity, who you are, and add to it, I see the slides have gotten a little bit wonky, but add to it an access, a role-based access control model that allows you to say not only who you are, but what you can do once you've identified that, and then add in a hierarchical approval solution that gets us to the point where we can create audit. It's not a sexy topic, but it's something that really has a lot of value for a business, and we can turn that around and return it to value for our customers. So I can spend a lot of time talking about architectures and how we used a database abstraction layer to solve some of these synchronization and write speed issues that you get with blockchains. I could talk all about consensus algorithms, proof of elapsed time, and other non-Nakamoto consensus algorithms, but I don't really want to bore people too much. We've gotten into using some complex database schemas and state addressing schemes that really get into the deep technology of blockchain to solve, as I mentioned earlier, some of those challenges that come with using a technology that is really just emerging, right? We're hearing a lot about blockchain today, but you're not seeing a lot of solutions on the marketplace, and that's because the technical challenges facing us are real and complex. What users should see on the end of their blockchain solutions are modern web applications and other things that they're used to using and feeling comfortable with. It should be built on a RESTful API layer that you can build an open API Swagger and interact with in a predictable way. It should be containerized. This is pretty hard to see here, but we've got a Docker host running a wide range of containers that run the different components of this blockchain solution, so it's portable and easy to deploy. Hyperdirectory to me is a way to explore technologies and develop blockchain solutions and bring them to ourselves and our customers. But more, it's a way to deliver value and make T-Mobile a company that is a part of our community. And so we've done that by releasing these tools into the open source world. So go out onto GitHub, check out Hyperdirectory and some of the other T-Mobile projects like the Jazz serverless platform. And you can find those and more details about them at opensource.tmobile.com. Start thinking about T-Mobile a little differently as a technology company, not just a phone company. Thanks, guys. Three questions. Anybody? Nothing about blockchains? Yeah. Yeah, the question was about Federated Azure Active Directory. And RPC? Oh, RBAC, RBAC, yeah. So RBAC is role-based access control, and he asked about how that integrates with Federated Active Directory and Azure. Role-based access control is a kind of standard description for a way to define access levels. You take tasks which represent individual permissions and roles which are aggregations of those tasks and apply them to users. It's something that's being applied in a lot of places like Azure and Federated Active Directory models to allow you to inherit permission sets in a way that makes sense both to an end user and to a software developer. I think the important story to come out of with RBAC is that it's predictable, and it lets you know that when you give somebody access, they're only going to get the access they need, and they're not going to get any accesses they don't need. So we've built Hyperdirectory to make sure that as we do that for our internal uses and potentially our customers, that we're making sure that only you are the one who can access your data, and you can access only your data. Yeah, anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, the question is about introducing vulnerabilities with the blockchain-based identity verification. And one thing that I want to highlight here is that Hyperdirectory is an identity and access management solution, but not an identity verification solution. So we've got here in Seattle a couple of great blockchain-based identity verification companies. Sovereign is here, LifeID, and there's a couple others who are playing in the space. It's a really exciting space, and identity touches every technology you guys interact with on the web, and that's a really important space to follow. I personally don't feel like the blockchain space is ready to deliver production-grade identity verification solutions today. So we use standard off-the-shelf identity verification components, things like OAuth or username and password with multi-factor authentication that are tested, verified, and accepted by the industry at large. We're not trying to, with the Hyperdirectory solution, innovate in the identity verification space. We're really innovating in the space around how you can use blockchains to deliver access controls to specific functions. Yeah.
What does blockchain bring to T-Mobile presently, and what could it bring to T-Mobile in the future, like value customers?
Yeah, so the question is about what blockchain brings to T-Mobile right now and what we see in the future for it. I've obviously, as part of a company like T-Mobile, got to be a little bit careful about the spaces that I talk in on questions like this. But blockchain is something that has a lot of potential. I showed that slide early on that said there's kind of 3 features that blockchain can deliver: digital asset exchange, smart contract execution, some things like that. There's a lot more that it can do. And I think that really to answer that question, what I'll say is imagine the different use cases that can come from blockchains. Things that are being talked about really widely today, kind of the traditional use cases, if you can use traditional in the concept of talking about a blockchain, which is such a new technology, are things like supply chain management, where you can track the individual components of a supply chain in real time and make sure that you can reduce fraud and do things like in, say, the food industry, make sure that your frozen foods stay frozen throughout the supply chain process. You have identity verification that I talked about is a really exciting use case that's up and coming. I think the technology is coming along. And a wide range of other things that I think T-Mobile will someday maybe be able to take advantage of. We have just recently announced that T-Mobile and some of the other providers here in the United States have joined together to develop a mobile authorization solution based on blockchain technologies. So you can look for more from T-Mobile on what we're doing on mobile authorization with blockchain, and maybe someday imagine using your phone based off of a blockchain to authenticate to all the apps and services that you use in the world around you.
Put your hands together for T-Mobile.